Welcome to the Mothman in the Bible Belt podcast with your host, Buck Fantastic.
Girl Scout cookies.
Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in life after love? First-time author Brian Cochran just released a book about both. Cochran's book, The Spring House, is about a middle-aged gay man, Sam, that purchases an old farmhouse in Georgia. The house has a history, among other things. On this episode of the Mothman the Bible Belt podcast, Georgia-born author Brian Cochran talks The Spring House, his life in Georgia, and current life in West Virginia. Cochran also dishes on real-life ghosts, seeing the B-52s and REM before they got famous, and the gay experience in the Peach State. Join me, your host, Buck Fantastic, for another exciting episode of the Mothman in the Bible Belt podcast. It's spookylicious. Brian.
Yes.
Tell us about your first published book, The Spring House.
Oh my gosh. So exciting for me because I've wanted to do this forever, basically. So it finally has happened, and I'm still kind of reeling from it. I wrote this book last year, and then it took a while to find a publisher, but then I found somebody who believed in the story and believed in the book and took me on. And man, from the time he took me on, it has been a whirlwind because it went really fast. You know, publishing is a different world now than it used to be. So it happens really quickly. It was a little editing, and then it was out there, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting reviews and stuff. It's kind of crazy, but totally amazing, and I'm very happy that I'm able to share this story with people because it's something I really have. It has a lot of heart, I think, and I really believe in the message it has. So I'm really glad that somebody took it up and put it out there to make it available to other people.
The plot is about Sam, a middle-aged gay man who buys a house, a farmhouse in Georgia, with a past that happens to include a couple of ghosts.
Well, yeah, actually, people in Georgia, and I'm from Georgia, so I kind of said it in a place I know. People in Georgia will tell you that all these old houses have ghosts, so it's not anything special really. But this house, its ghost is very special because not only is Sam gay, but so is his ghost. So they kind of form this interesting relationship, and then Sam learns about his past, Henry, his past, and the awful stuff, really awful stuff that happened to him in this house. But part of Sam's healing from this bad relationship he's escaping is to go rebuild this house. And it's, in a sense, it's a metaphor for rebuilding himself too. He's rebuilding himself at the same time, getting himself back from a failed relationship. So the fact that it has a gay ghost is kind of just a bonus. I mean, who doesn't want a gay ghost? I would love that.
Right. Why aren't your ghosts scary? Why do you go for that approach?
Well, because I think the problem with that is that ghosts aren't always scary. Sometimes humans are scarier than ghosts. And in this case, that is what happened in this story. The humans in the story are far worse than the ghosts, and cause most of the misery that comes about because of the story. So I wanted to show that sometimes, and I really do believe this too, I think that sometimes spirits are here to help us. They're not always here to hurt us. There are a couple of moments that Henry has that are kind of frightening, but for the most part, he is a gentle, sweet soul And even though all the things that have happened to him in his life are, well, not all of them, but a lot of them are really awful, he manages to overcome them and not have a bad attitude. And not only that, he wants to help Sam. When he finds out Sam is hurting, he wants to help Sam. So I feel like Henry is a ghost with a huge heart, someone who just doesn't harbor a lot of hate. And I think that's probably why he's a good guy in my story.
Your book reads like a stage play, but with Southern hospitality and ghosts. You ever thought about adapting it into a play?
It's interesting you would say that, because I am from a theater background. I was a theater major at the University of Georgia, and I do see things when I write them visual. I see them visually when I'm writing them. In this case, it was more like I could see it as a movie, maybe, or as a limited series or something. I can just see the setting, and all those places and all those things are so in my memory from living. I've lived in that place, so it just seemed very real to me. I actually lived for a while in a house in Rail, Georgia, that was being renovated. This is when I was a student, and it had a spring house in the back. And that's one of the reasons that was kind of my inspiration for this, is what actually happened there, and why did people leave this house? And every house has a history, and especially
Was it
these
haunted?
really old ones. I think so. I'm pretty sure it was. It was an old antebellum house. It had a really interesting story because so the people who lived there, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told this. The people who lived there built a house. This was a house out in the country with like 150 acres of land around it. And they built a house in town, and they left this one standing just completely empty, didn't sell it. And it just stayed that way for years and years and years. And so somebody finally bought it and renovated it, and they gave me the opportunity to live there for free, which you're a college student living somewhere for free is pretty awesome. If I would just kind of stay there to make sure nothing happened to it at night. So I was out there all by myself in this big old house. A lot of nights I would hear things, and your mind goes a little crazy. But there's one thing that I'm almost positive I heard gunshots one night in the house, and it was just me. Yeah, it was just me. So kind of crazy. But yeah, it's a legend for all. I think it's probably true of West Virginia too. These old houses, sometimes the kids make up stories or whatever, but it felt haunted to me. How sometimes you're in a room and you just feel like somebody's behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody's there. You feel that thing on your neck. So it's kind of like that.
So where can people purchase your book at?
It's on Amazon right now. You can buy it in Kindle or hardcover or paper. We've gotten some early sales, which has been great. My reviews so far have been great. I just have been really, really thrilled to see the response. I mean, it's one thing. Of course, I shared it around, to friends and stuff when I was writing it, and I got some, encouraging feedback from them. But they're your friends and your family, and they're nice. They're being nice to you, which they should be. But when it goes out into the public, and people you don't know say nice things about it, well, that's a whole different thing. So I'm just really hoping that what you said is true. I would love to see it come. I would love to see it on a screen. And I've had a couple of people say to me when they read it, this is such a movie. It's just such a perfect story for a movie. So maybe one day, we'll see.
Your book To me, it read like a giant social commentary on gay life in Georgia.
Yeah, in some ways it is, for real. It is because, I mean, obviously I grew up there, and some of those people in those stories, I was like, I know these people so well. That actually, I'll be completely honest. Sam's ex is kind of a conglomeration of a couple of mine. So that was kind of fun to see him get a little bit of a comeuppance. But yeah, I feel like there's still, even now, there's so much stigma attached to being gay still. And there's some people that just can't deal with it, like Spencer's character, he just can't deal with the fact that he is, so he hides. And it makes them different. It makes them different people, and kind of bitter, and not nice. And he's not nice. But then his whole family is not nice. They kind of just fall into that trap. But yeah. But then of course Sam is like, he's like my gay everyman, actually. I wrote Sam thinking of a lot of different people. And there are a lot of people who are gay and in relationships, and they think that they are settled and they're going to be together forever. And then one day it all just goes to pot, and it's gone. And how do you come back from that? That was one of the things I was thinking about when I was writing Sam. He is hurt, and he is disillusioned, I think, about love, and he just thinks, I'm just going to go live by myself in the country for the rest of my life and be alone. And of course, that's not the way it works out, but that's what he's thinking, because he's just, licking his wounds, basically.
What was life like growing up gay in the Peach State?
It was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult. Georgia is the deep South. There's a lot of Bible Belt, and not everybody was open to that idea. And I found that I had to leave my hometown, which is a small town, and go to a college town before I could really be myself. But that college town happened to be Athens, Georgia, which is also part of the book. And I just found myself there. It was crazy. It was a different time. I'm older than you, I'm sure, and it was just like it was one of those things where it was kind of exciting to be gay, if that makes any sense. It was kind of like, I'm different, and everybody there was kind of like, they didn't care because it was a college town, and everybody was different anyway, and weird, so it was okay to be gay. So that was kind of cool. And then when I left Athens, I moved to Atlanta. Well, Atlanta's kind of like San Francisco of the South, so it was okay to be gay there too. So yeah, it was just like I feel for people still who grow up in those small towns and never manage to escape, never manage to get out of them, because I think it's very difficult, probably still, even now, even today, it's still very difficult to be gay in a really small town.
You ever run into any of the members of the B-52s or REM when you were in college?
Dude, I was there when REM and the B-52s were not even famous yet. They were still party bands for us. I like to tell this story that I opened for REM once, which is true in a way. There was this bar in Athens called the Chameleon Club, and REM played there often. And so I was in the theater school, and this Norwegian grad school student did this play called Schubert's Last Serenade, and he cast me as Schubert because he thought I looked like him. And they brought us into this bar to do this one-act play every night, and then afterward, the REM would just play, they would just come and play. And I went on for like, I think 2 weeks or something like that. And at first it was so amazing because I was like, yeah, I'm going to hang around and listen to REM. And then toward the end, people would be like, are you staying? And I'd be like, nah, I'm tired. I'm going home. Which is crazy now to think about it, because I know when REM became famous, I was a little like resentful, because I was like, no, that's our band. You can't have them. But of course they became huge and famous and wonderful, and I'm happy for their success, very much so. But yeah, that was a crazy college experience. And then there was this other place that was like called the Mad Hatter, and it was a disco, and the B-52s would go there and just be like hanging out, dancing and stuff. It was amazing. It was an amazing time. And then of course all of them went on to be hugely famous. But at that time, I would stand behind Michael Stipe at the bank, making deposits or cashing checks. It was kind of a crazy time.
Was he down to earth?
Very much so. I think he was, and still is, a great artist. And I think he was the kind of person that was very much into his thoughts and into his creativity and things like that. So he was not like gregarious and outgoing and all those sorts of things, but yeah, he was a very nice person, definitely. I really got more to know Peter. I got more to know Peter Buck, to be honest, because he was working at a record store called What Street, and I would just go in there and hang in there and talk about music and say, what should I listen to next? And he would give me these great recommendations for albums and stuff. I think he turned me on to the Smiths, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy.
Was Georgia more Designing Women or Gone with the Wind when you were growing up?
That's a great question. I would say definitely Designing Women. In fact, my character, it's funny you would ask this, because my character Dorothy in the book, when I was writing her, I was imagining Jean Smart playing the part the whole time, and I still do. Well, that would be amazing if she would do it. But yeah, Designing Women got a lot of stuff right about the South. I felt like of all the characters, Suzanne and Julia were the most Southern, and the most Southern that I recognized. But yeah, very much so. That I knew a lot of Julias and Suzanne when I was growing up.
I recently learned Georgia in the past few years that Georgia had segregated high school proms. Was your prom segregated?
Yeah. It was not, actually, but only because we only had 2 Black students in my entire school, which would have been horrible, obviously, to keep them out. But no, I don't remember that at all being the case where I went to school. But again, not a huge Black population there, so.
Can you be a gay free spirit in Georgia, or do you have to worry about being attacked for being your true, authentic self?
I think it's easier now than when I was growing up, especially easier, in a larger city like a Savannah or an Atlanta. Small towns, I guess, are still probably difficult. However, I'm seeing a lot of change happen. And my friends kids and stuff, I see them going to prom, and you can just tell that they're having their own lives and having a great time and doing their own thing. And I think that's fantastic. I couldn't have done that when I was growing up. So the change has been good, I think.
Do you think it's harder to be an openly LGBT person in West Virginia compared to Georgia?
That's such a good question. It's hard for me to say because I'm married, and I've been married ever since I've been here. So it's kind of difficult because we're sort of, settled and no fun anymore. But, I think here's one thing that I think is interesting, and maybe you can give me some insight on this. When I got up here, I was like, oh my God, my gaydar totally doesn't work here, because I would meet people and I would be like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely gay. And then the next thing I would know, I'd be talking about his girlfriend, and I'd be like, really? Because it just seems to me like you might be gay. But, you know, maybe my gaydar just went off or something. I don't know.
Not
But,
really. A lot of them are married to women. Halloween is a few weeks away.
Yes.
I gotta
My
ask
favorite
you,
holiday.
what is your favorite ghost story?
There's so many good ones. I love, gosh, what is the name of it? I guess it is called A Ghost Story, but they made it into a movie. But it's about these three guys, and they are all party to the death of this woman, and they put her in a car and they think she's dead. They put her in a car and they push the car into a lake, and just as she's going down in the water, her head pops up in the back window, and they realize she's still alive and that they're literally killing her. It's a really old movie, but it's so good. I think Peter Straub wrote the book.
I saw the movie.
And the movie's really good, really good. Fred Astaire, a lot of old actors, I think, in it. But I love that story, and it's got Alice Krige in it, who is the board queen. So if you know Star Trek,
I remember her, and she was also in Sleepwalkers.
Yes. I love her. Great actress. And I think that was one of her earliest roles. But I love that story. Such a good story. That is not a happy ghost story, though. Want to say that ghost story does not end up good for everybody. So.
Are you dressing up for Halloween this year?
I might. I love the fact that I live in West Virginia now, and we have actual trick-or-treaters who come to the door. My husband Steve, the first year I lived here, he said, he was working at night at that point, and he said, you better get a lot of candy. I was like, why? You know, because I'm from Atlanta, and they just don't do that there. And he said, because there's going to be tons of trick-or-treaters. You better get bags and bags of candy. And I told him, I don't see that happening. But I got some. And I was ready for them. I thought. I came to the door. We had lots of them, and they were so cute. Oh, my God, so cute. The one I remember the most, she was dressed up like Winifred from Hocus Pocus, and she was perfect. She was absolutely perfect. But so he was right. I started, because I'm not the kind of person who can just get one piece of candy. I'm not a handfuls of it. And I ran out pretty quickly, and then I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do, because I'm out of candy? And I want to keep seeing these kids. You know, they're so cute. Come to the door. So I ran back into the house, and I was like, what do I have? What do I have that I can hand out, because I'm out of stuff? And we had just gotten married. Our anniversary is the 21st, so it's coming up. And so someone said, what can I give them? And I looked, and I was like, I found like a bunch of mint from the wedding left over. So I just started handing those out, because it was all I had. It was all I had left. So
that's not bad. One year I handed out home interior, and I was trying to get rid of the shit. I mean, it was horrible giving little 7-8-year-olds little expensive. It was my mom stuff. My mom gave me, like it was like teapots and stuff like that. I mean, it was really nice, but I didn't have room for it, and I didn't like the gaudy looking shit, so I gave it to the kids. They looked at me like, thanks, but hey, be happy you got something.
Right. And I probably went out and told the other kids, don't go there. Don't even bother. It's not worth your time. Who knows? Whatever. I mean,
do you all hand out healthy food in Georgia? Like
No. God, no.
Peaches?
Absolutely not. No. Well, I don't know. Maybe people have handed out peaches before. I don't know.
Alligator jerky?
No, that's more like Louisiana. We hand out stuff like, I remember when I was a kid, we would get things like popcorn balls and weird stuff like caramel apples. People would actually give out caramel apples on Halloween. So But of course, I was like, I just want chocolate. That's all I was looking for was chocolate. Bring me the chocolate. So my
That's
brother
health
and
food
I
in
were.
West Virginia.
Well, that's good because I love it. My brother and I would like, you know, at the end of the night, we would like drag out everything and kind of do the trading thing like most kids do. And luckily, we liked different things, so it was very easy to shove the stuff at him that I didn't like, and he gave me the stuff he didn't like, and it worked out great. But I was more like, I want all the chocolate stuff, and he was like, I want all the, you know, fruit flavored stuff. So totally worked out.
Have y'all been in West Virginia long?
I've been here. Well, Steve's from here. He grew up here, and I am from Atlanta, and I've been here like, wow, it's like 6 years now. Crazy, and I love it. I really love it here. I love West Virginia. I have found that I can focus. I think I never would have written this book if I had not moved to West Virginia, actually, because Atlanta is very staticky. Things are happening around you all the time. It's very difficult to focus. But when I came here, I don't know. It just kind of, it took me a while, but it finally came to me to be creative again and to allow myself to write again. Yeah, it's been great, actually.
Is there a second book in you?
There is. I've already started writing it. It's going to be a very different story. There's no supernatural element to this one, but it's going to be a really, really, I hope, sort of different kind of mystery. One of the comments I had that was so rewarding on Amazon was someone said the only complaint I have is that this is the only book he's got. And I was like, wow, that is, if that's not encouragement to write another book, I don't know what is.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about the Spring House?
It's a story about redemption. It's a story about love. It's a story about finding your way back from hurt and heartache. And it's a story about believing in the power of love. And I think that is the main message of what it is. I hope people relate to that.
Brian Cochran's book, The Spring House, is available to purchase now. Cochran resides in Charleston, West Virginia with his husband Stephen and their 3 doggy children, Teddy, Mabel, and Ellie. I want to thank my special guest Brian Cochran for coming on the Mothman in the Bible Belt podcast to discuss his book and growing up gay in the Peach State. You can find Mothman in the Bible Belt podcast outlet updates, guest bios, links to social media, and more at www.mothmaninthebiblebelt.com. Thanks for listening.